Well, Curas, I'm going to pause and record. You just were making the point. You said this terrible thing about Trayvon. It sickens me. I think you're kicking the corpse. It's a benefit of the doubt that you're trolling with your burglary, and you say you knew gang members, and you're saying they didn't carry weapons to be clean, because that's what gang members do. That's what thugs do. They're always wanting to be clean. No, they always carry because you're supposed to not be clean. It's part of the, being on the inside tough thing. Whatever. You just said this bullshit about Second Amendment. That really pisses me off. I'm Second Amendment. I'm a libertarian. I am a real libertarian. I'm progressive because I know that freedoms depend on things like little busybody, violent dudes not being able to kill our kids in the street with impunity. That's how you lose your guns. If you think that, well, to keep our guns, we need to let George Zimmerman kill the Trayvons. You think it might have that backwards? If those two ideas are linked, you're going to lose your right to bear arms. The only remedy is when you see that somebody is wrongful death, there is no excuse. Your right to bear arms is an excuse for a wrongful death. Hello. This situation doesn't apply to your victimhood. This just because he's black doesn't mean that this is the gang. He was being followed. He was running away. He wasn't chasing anybody, bullying anybody. Hello, that's what I'm trying to tell you. He wasn't chasing anybody. He was running away. I've been in that situation. I have been followed and harassed because my hair was too long because my parents were hippies, grew my hair long, this and that and the other. And, it's kind of annoying enough as it is. I'm glad I didn't get shot and some person on the internet is kicking my corpse like they know me. Just because I'm Polynesian. See, that's what I object to. You're talking about your victim rights. There's a dead body and you're assuming the guy that shot him's the victim. Yeah, because I saw his head got cut. That guy had been following the guy that ended up dead for a significant period of time. It killed him, and you go, obviously, the victim. Now we see he's just a greedy, lying to hide money he was given on the internet for killing a kid. Instead of going, thank God, let me use this, to get out of jail. He's like, hide it. It's 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 like, hide it. And you're telling me who the victim is? It's obvious blindness. I'm supposed to be like, what? It's just a matter of opinion? Well, that's not how I feel. I get the thing about you saying, I was answering in the extreme because this riled me up. Great, that's part of it. Fine. But when I call that trolling, you go, well, a little bit. Or not, but whatever. But I'm not apologizing about calling it trolling because that's within the realm. I'm not calling you a troll, so just whatever. The thing you were riled about was me saying, why doesn't he have a weapon? Thugs have weapons. They don't go drop weapons to be clean. Thugs don't want to appear clean. They want to appear thuggish. They put gold teeth on their Twitter. They want everybody to know they're tough. Don't mess with them. And you say, thugs, you don't know that. I don't believe it then. Or you mistook them. Or you thought they were sweethearts when you were there because you're just so understand. I don't know. Just so understand. I don't know. Just so understand. I don't know what it was, but thugs like to have a weapon. They don't want to drop off the weapon and go ambush somebody in case they die. They're not going to get caught. They're going to live forever and everything else. Oh, wait. Now you talk about why people want to look innocent. You're ignoring why that's difficult. Because you need some burglary tools. And you try to make them quick moving and stuff. They could get stashed and all kinds of things. But when you die and there's a big thing, that's not so likely. That it won't be found. And that's just like, and that's okay. Sometimes criminals know how to appear innocent, but but you're not acknowledging it makes him look innocent in the first place. You want to explain why there's some other sort of thing that might be going on. Meanwhile, you don't want to admit it does make him look innocent in the first one. You guys want to act like it doesn't make sense that I think he's innocent. That's just because I'm brainwashed. It's just because he ditched all this stuff to look innocent. Well, thugs that don't do that don't look innocent. Those ones look guiltier, yeah. So I guess at least he was a smart one. And there's definitely no way he went back to ambush someone and dropped off his weapon. I don't think there's even a possibility he would go and not pick up something. There's a lot of weapons of opportunity. And now you're ranting and Zimmerman should have walked away. Well, you're not looking closely at the data. I don't care about your opinion unless it's backed up by looking at the data. If you want to produce charts and analysis tables, timetables, something to prove what you're saying, then fine. But there is forensic evidence. There is 183 pages of evidence. There's a couple hours or an hour or something of audio testimony already. You know, look at that if you're going to kick a corpse. If you're going to kick a corpse and go, it deserves it because I had a bad experience, and I've had bad experiences too. And for that matter, in my ancestry, from the racism, or over here, the racist against whites. My kids have been racistly picked on, where they're the minority. So, you have no reason to think what you think, and if you want to say otherwise, an opinion won't do. An opinion isn't a reason to think it's okay to badmouth a corpse. It isn't. I don't care how much you've been victimized. If you think that, your ethics have been compromised by post-traumatic stress or something. And that's fine, and I can sympathize in that sense only.
Well, yeah, our democracy, our democratic republic, freaking, there is no more civil society. So excuse me if, yes, I am a little pissed off about it, and the freaking neo-Marxist bullshit.
What are you talking about, no civil society? The society is more civil than ever. We're just all, I'm panicked, I'm weak. They used to be tough. That's the difference. They used to be tough. We're weak. Don't blame your environment. I think it's getting easier. I thought it was getting easier when I had to walk miles through nighttime Oakland. So they tell me that's a hard place. Because they know so much. What I don't understand, Curas, is why don't you think George Zimmerman is one of the people robbing us? Like in the Halliburton side and the Blackwater side, and people that sell us on the security, or for that matter, mobsters that offer a protection racket. Maybe there is crime in the neighborhood besides what the mobsters would do to you. Maybe it's even a good deal in the end. Yeah, you have to pay, but why don't you think Zimmerman's one of the people victimizing us? See, I agree with all of your venting, except for that he killed this kid. Why don't they say that in the stuff that the white supremacists dump, including the Twitters, that he had a bunch of Gmail about his college and going to aviation camp and stuff, or aviation programs. The aviation camp was just one of the pictures. But why not that? I mean, he's just a regular person. People do think of Oakland as some hood, but really there's a whole African American culture, from really rich and middle class and upper middle class and all the way through it. And you learn that you look for other things, if anything, for your thugness and your... And I don't think you're looking at that. And you're just, I don't, there's a dead kid. I mean, I have some claim to say that the victimizer is a petty, in this case, the victimizer is a petty kind of security guy that would have probably been really productive if he wasn't allowed to carry a gun. if he wasn't allowed to carry a gun. Seriously, he probably would have been really productive, and no, he wouldn't have gotten beaten to death, but he might have gotten beaten up, and then Trayvon would have been thrown in jail. So that would have probably been better for all of us. Of course, I don't think that would have happened. Of course, I don't think that would have happened.
Of course, I don't think that would have happened.
Of course, I don't think that would have happened. Of course, I don't think that would have happened. I think if he didn't have a gun, he would have got shoved and said, "Hey, I'm just checking you. You're going to be in trouble. You stay here with the cops." And then the cops would have talked to Trayvon. They would have searched him, and they would have been like, "Okay, watch out. Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman."
Oh, but it's the poor people. He was so innocent. He was 12, but we're going to pretend he was 17, and he was just walking down the street, and you don't really know if he really was innocent or not. I mean, we've gone through all this, and we really don't know what was on these people's minds. And when you want to talk logically, yes, I agree. I agree with all that. You know.
Okay.
The hoodie marches and stuff and all the portray things that there won't be frigging unjust frigging pressure put on him because of social expediency to get him an unlawful frigging sentence when he was probably doing the right thing.
Look at the evidence then.
See, that's what I'm pissed off about.
Look at the evidence.
And I can tell you from friggin' being a victim,
your intuition.
that, you know, it's sickening. It's sickening to friggin' find people friggin' putting their friggin' fist under your nose. It's sickening to friggin' walk down the street and have people friggin' punking at you.
But don't you understand, Curas? Are you naive or something to the fact that one way that the punks of the world learn how to get away with their punkness is sometimes to pretend to be security and get security kind of gigs going where they can get away with it? Because that's the truth. And you know it. You know it. You say you worked in security, you know it. There's a few people power tripping and you go, well, that's good, they did a good job. Yeah, but if they're just neighborhood watching, no one's watching, things go wrong and they get a little scared. We're talking about multiculturalism in this sense of, as it's distinct from some multi-ethnic idea, and it's the same way Merkel, that German chancellor, was talking about it, which was new to me. I think of multicultural as mixed, as San Francisco, where there's Chinese everywhere, and there's Chinatown, and there's, you know, I mean, there's every ethnicity everywhere, and there's Indian restaurants, and there's little neighborhoods that sometimes have an ethnic flavor, but it's somewhat incidental, and it blends out, you know, in a spectrum kind of a thing. And I just don't get why it is assumed, why you don't seem to be looking at Zimmerman's quality of character. You know, there's a lot of confirmed things, right, legally confirmed, that are going to be in the trial you watch, and it's just like you're not looking at them now when you know they're going to be evidence, not that you have to accept them all, but with reference to them all. After the trial, you just go, "Is it injustice?" And you say, "Want justice?" Well, that is justice. How do you think justice is? Just you decide? Are we all intuition and we vote like American Idol? Or how about just the legal system looks at the evidence and does the best it can, number crunching the evidence, and those of us that are interested take our just personal responsibility to do more or less the same thing, but a little more liberal, a little more cultural commentary and all the rest, but with reference to it. You're like, I don't freaking care the kid died. Well, do you freaking care that Zimmerman had 2 felony things he was facing, he got off just on a deal? Oh, he was an undercover person. Well, I mean, Zimmerman was pretty undercover. He was so undercover he wasn't law enforcement at all. Are you saying the law enforcement officer did something improper? Is that what you're saying? Because why would you defend Zimmerman in the name of legal propriety. And this law enforcement officer that arrested him, no. Doesn't make sense. Right? We know he has violent tendencies. Not super violent. I maintain we don't know about Trayvon on the Twitter, but even so, it doesn't matter. You're telling me you know thugs, and they make it to junior year with no fights on their record. No non-school record. No non-school record. Right.
I'm such a conservative, but I'm an economic progressive. Yeah, I can agree with that, but I can still separate those. Oh no, now you're just being a conservative stooge. That's conservative, but I'm an economic progressive. Yeah, I can agree with that, but I can still separate those issues and stuff. So don't tell me I'm a troll. Don't tell me I'm a freaking racist. Don't tell me freaking any of that.
Well, look, so I have relatives and stuff that are racist, and I understand. It's just like a psychological, I'm sympathetic. It's like Tourette's or something. Unless you're violent and going to kill some kid, I don't think there's any danger of you doing that. It's sort of sad that you're a cheerleader for someone that did, and you can't see that. But, the thing is, what did you say there? Let me rewind it. Okay, I want to hear it again. Let's see. It's hard to do. Okay.
Progressive? I'm such a conservative, but I'm an economic progressive. Yeah, I can agree with that, but I can still separate those issues and stuff. So don't tell me I'm a troll. Don't tell me I'm a freaking racist.
Okay, well, I think I was giving you the benefit of the doubt, calling you a troll. Because, like you said, that was really offensive the way you're saying that. Right? Don't you realize some of us think that this kid, there's no evidence of, and you're like, well, my impression is, so I can kick him. It's like, I'm like, even if I'm wrong, I don't think that's respectful. Right? I expect more from him. So, it's to say you're trolling is to say you're doing the dark humor thing, and you don't really think that, and you're doing it for the absurdity and the cultural impact and the cultural hacking of it. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt because I'm trying really hard. Because other than that, this is really callous and cold, considering how much you could possibly know. I'm not saying similar things about George Zimmerman, though I am criticizing him. I'm not using he was a racist. I don't say that all the time. I say, well, I think it was this trying to be secure thing, and I also said sort of a post-traumatic stress or whatever. They had been getting broken into, and he got hyper, and I just think that's like, well, he should have had a taser. You don't see how that's reasonable? A non-lethal version of the situation that's not acceptable to you. And then you're going off on this shit. When I'm saying that, nobody's commenting on, hey, how about a non-lethal version of this situation? People don't want to go, well, he just had a right to kill him, it doesn't matter about that. Well, you're fucking wrong. Legally, if you want to point just on did he have the right to kill him, you need a real evidence. Your fucking impression means shit all. Right? It's not even worth getting upset about. It's not even worth knowing, really. The evidence is the evidence. And even the crappy lawyers have to do better than the internet. It's shitty. People go about how terrible courts are. The shittiest, most corrupted court system was better than anything the internet, blah, 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 has ever or would ever have been able to come up with so far. Totally. We need better software or something to do anything decent. This is just ridiculous. And if you have even a halfway decent, not corrupt, but just somewhat incompetent mistakes kind of thing that's statistically going to happen, then it's like it's like Plato's world of forms perfection compared to this bullshit of our conversation. Where people actually say, look at the shadow through a window of a thing of a poo in the 7-Eleven means there's a drug deal. That's supposed to be genuine. And then things like, hey, what do you think about this thing where the $1 means 1,000? That doesn't matter. You're just buying what they say on MSNBC. Yeah, you're going to get mocked a lot if you want to watch it. And that's fine. I don't mind you coming back, except for I just really... you have no reason for that. If you were in law enforcement or took a class, then you know what real evidence is. Then you know why we don't just go on people's impression. Because they proved a lot of suggestibility, your past experience. Don't you understand? Your past victimhood in a legal context has to be subtractable, has to be taken out of the situation. If you don't know how to do that, I have to do that. And then I have to tell you, look, your post-traumatic stress is making you kick a dead corpse. You are freaking out. Maybe you should go take a breath of 10 or a Valium and chill out.
Don't tell me.
See, now you're saying that you've been there and you fought it for others, and I have been like that too. I stopped fights kids tried to stop with me. And I've stepped in with other people, and I always realize, well, it's not being a badass. One thing is this bullies, they pick on people. So if you're kind of a tall kid or anything, if you have mean eyebrows, there's various things that can be used that other kids will back down to. And I believe in stopping fights. Now, I don't believe that if you were victimized, that the pre-story, remember, the killing happens in a minute it's set to, it could change if they say the clocks were off here or there, whatever. But the killing happens with a minute off of the police call, and within probably 15 or 30 seconds, maybe 40, I think at the most, after the end of his call with his girlfriend. 45 seconds. Now, you're telling me anytime relay a story if you want. I've avoided being victimized, and one reason is because I do not feel any need to talk to somebody I don't want to talk to. I will evade, Otherwise, some straight serial murderer is like, I look straight, I'm neighborhood watch, therefore get into my car, alright, now I kill you. I mean, bullshit. I'm an individual, sovereign, libertarian individual. Fuck that shit. So, you can't do that to me. Alright. So anyway, relay a story. Or just for yourself, and tell me, really, the story of Zimmerman and Trayvon is just like your victim experience. Now, we don't know the last 30 seconds, so, okay, go back in time from when your victim experience ended, or started, for that matter. Let's make it easier. From when it started. First punch you got, or whatever. Go back a minute. And then, we know everything. We basically know where everybody was and what was going on. That's what led up to your victimhood experience. I don't think so, right? Tell me, is it similar? We don't know 30 seconds at the combat situation. But tell me, were the people that victimized you, were you following them and they were running from you?
Threatening you. Freaking things going to shit. The fucking loonies from Arkham just fucking everywhere, just going fucking nuts.
You're taking out all this angst. That's what I was saying. That's what I was trying to tell you. I mean, if you want to learn from what I'm telling you, in the sense that what I'm telling you is a key to release some of this negative energy, Trayvon is being a funnel for energy from all kinds of weird things that don't apply here, even though they're real. Right? And that's what I'm telling you. Think again. Now, is this the kind of situation when you were victimized? Someone like No Limit Niga. Let's say someone like that, who I don't think is Trayvon. And even if it's a real Twitter, I mean, he wasn't that way in real life. That's pretty clear. even if he was fronting like that, even if you want to blame him for wanting to be that way or something, when your situation of someone like that victimizing you, is this how it happened? Were you going, hey, I think that kid's breaking into a house. I'll go watch him, follow him. He's running, talking on his cell phone. And then he's running, talking on his cell phone. He's got no weapon and he's running. And then he hides. In the dark, you go follow him. In the dark, mind you, not in the light. Where you have a reason for it to, to think you could keep your distance and stuff and be responsible. And then we don't know what happens. Is that what leads up to those experiences? So you start talking about certain social structures, and this is where we agree, but that's not why I have liked you in the past, and definitely like something. Like, even if I said, I can't stand Curas anymore, I'd have to admit, well, there's something I like about him. And it's not that I agree with you, but it's some of these perspectives and the way you take them and where we agree and how we disagree. I think it could triangulate, right? So you're talking about these social structures. And I think, we can't have social structures that encourage mistakes, right? We have to have social structures that encourage falling in the right direction. Like when you you ever walk on a mountain path? One thing I've always learned, growing up in the mountains and stuff, and in my own hiking, is I've walked on some really steep paths. I've had babies in slings and stuff, and I'm like country boy, and I'm like, yeah, I got to do it. And sometimes I think back and I'm like, was that really safe? But anyway, I did it. And one of the things is, like, if you fall, you don't want to fall that way off the mountain. You want to fall that way into the edge of the mountain. You don't want to fall that way either. You might slip off the mountain, but the path might be 3 feet wide, or even if it's narrow, if you do slip and go that way, you have a much better chance of the not dying thing than the other way. So you should always try to fall to the not dying side. Not killing, I think, even more so, but I'm one of these crazy people that really just doesn't want to kill a human being in my life intentionally, if ever I can help it. Call me new-fashioned, but that's just how I feel. What's racist, Curas, is you don't know the history, I can tell. Like, there was a riot in Tulsa where a whole community, a whole African community was raised, and part of the reason is because they had successful, responsible business people. And I wonder if you go, no, they were all thugs. The white part of town had a riot. No, it was a terrible medieval kind of thing. I'm pretty sure it was Tulsa. Let me look it up first, okay? Just in case I got it wrong. It was like, I had an African-American girlfriend turn me on to this story, and I'm like, holy shit, and sure enough, let's see, Tulsa Race Riot. Large-scale racially motivated conflict on May 31 and June 1, 1921 between the white and black communities of Tulsa, Oklahoma, in which the wealthiest African-American community in the United States, 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 the Greenwood District, also known as the Negro Wall Street, Greenwood District, United States, wealthiest American community of African Americans because they were working really hard in Oklahoma. June 1921, June 1, Tulsa Race Riot, and the Negro Wall Street was burned to the ground. During 16 hours of the assault, over 800 people were admitted to local hospitals with injuries. More than 6,000 Greenwood residents were arrested and detained at 3 facilities. An estimated 10,000 were left homeless in 35 city blocks composed of 1,256 residences were destroyed by fire. The official count of the dead by the Oklahoma Department of Vital Statistics was 39, but Other estimates of black fatalities have been up to about 300. The events of the riot were omitted from local and state history. The events of the riot were omitted from local and state history. The events of the riot were omitted from local and state history. They didn't mention them in the local history. Find what the fuck are you talking about? The Tulsa Race Riot of 1921 was rarely mentioned in history books, classrooms, or even in private. Blacks and whites alike grew into middle age unaware of what had taken place. In 1996, the state legislature commissioned a report complete in 2001 to establish the historical record. It has proved some compensatory acts such as scholarships for descendants of survivors, economic development of Greenwood, and a memorial park dedicated in 2010 to the victims of Tulsa. The riot occurred in the racially and politically tense atmosphere of post-World War I. And basically, it was a successful Negro neighborhood, since other places wouldn't let blacks come into the businesses. They had black businesses, and were doing well because they had enough of a community and stuff. So they got killed. So I know things that make me pissed about stuff, and you can go, oh, I watched a TV show and a guy had this, whatever. It's barely a detail compared to the real history in my book. Okay, you were saying, of course you believe in justice. That's what I believe in about you. Your confusion is that you don't know where the justice lies. Okay, I'm going to understand that. As long as I can. So how can we get to an agreement? I mean, you might not be into looking at all the details. Do you have a friend that is? I mean, I think, to be fair, you have to look at various details, like the angle that the bullet goes in him. You can't go, well, that doesn't mean anything. You can't figure out anything from that. Yeah, no, you got to be the A student in science class. Or you have to be the A student in math class. Or in all the other classes. Or one of the other classes. Or you have to now go slowly but surely and accept correction and proof. In other words, you don't have to pass a test to be the A student. You just have to know the difference between legitimate argumentation and illegitimate argumentation. Then, you know what I'm saying? You get, in this class, you get to be an A student if you can figure out which other student to copy from. That's the way it works, you know? And if you want to do your own thing, that's even better. We need many, many people doing that. In which case you have to look at evidence. You don't have to read everything right away, but you can't just make shit up. Okay? And you can't just say that being innocent proves that you're guilty and that you were trying to look innocent. That's not how law enforcement works. Sorry. Okay, so guilty people smart enough to look innocent, look innocent. Okay, that's the way it works in law enforcement. Sorry, I know it, but I know it's not really. No, that's how it works. You need evidence. You know what? And if you follow that rule, it's usually because they do turn out to be innocent, right? That's why we have that rule, because the odds are with that rule, like the odds are with the house in a casino. You just said that Trayvon was walking around looking like he was hot, and you're taking George Zimmerman's word. But Trayvon wasn't high. Now, like Diawada Man, you can wait for the further toxicology reports, but we've received word that it was the amount of THC that shows that he had smoked pot, which we already knew, I think. But he hadn't smoked pot that night. He wasn't high on any other drug. They would have said he had cocaine. He was on meth. So that means that factually, in the subjective world that all the objectivists want to argue for, but for some reason me, a skeptic, has a better command of. It's not ironic. Objective world. He was not high. look high. Because he wasn't. Whatever he was doing, and whatever its motivation, and however suspicious, it wasn't looking high. And what we know about George Zimmerman, if you could see it with your eyes, Zimmerman saw lots of things. I mean, I think he saw a dog that was going to attack him that he needed a gun for that had never attacked anybody. I think he saw a kid walking to the store that had never attacked anybody. Ooh. It's so complicated. Only a bleeding heart liberal with white guilt could think that way. I don't have white guilt. I'm an 8th Hawaiian. I'm a 16th Cherokee. My ancestors came on the Mayflower, and even though they were white, they were oppressed in Europe. Fuck you oppressors. Fuck you busybodies. Get off my back. I'm buying some Skittles. Fuck you guys. Not you, Curas. Them, those other races. You can be saved. I believe. It's just so painful. Oh, Curas, I just think of you as so nice. Oh, but I've seen it before. I have some sweet relatives and people that they turn out racist. And I'm like, it's like uranium. Just can't get too many of you racists together. Then it gets dangerous, really. Or just one of Zimmerman who is not racist. He's not racist. What he is he's a little Mr. Bean with the gun. That's what it is.
The place. You know, and I don't think that's unreasonable or kicking somebody's when they're dead. You know, he's dead because he probably jumped Zimmerman, like you heard on the 911 tape, to freaking knock him around and get around so he could run off without being detained or freaking questioned by the police whenever they fucking got there. You know, to freaking hightail it back to...
Doesn't make sense what you're saying. You're saying he was a criminal. He knows how to be clean. He ran home, saved, put all his stuff, went back to ambush a guy with his bare fist because he's brave and not wanting to be at all culpable in any way, knowing he is clean. So why would he care if he got caught by the cops? He's clean.
His house. You know, and they are the same damn picture of frigging pyro. I don't know what...
No, they are not! I asked my wonderful former girlfriend about what she thought. And she's from South Dakota, so she can't tell black people apart either. So I decided I don't blame you guys for not being able to tell them apart. But I can, and I could tell Kenyans from... You know what? I practiced this over my life, you see, telling different, like, Kenyans from Zulu, and sometimes you meet African American people, and you know there's certain mixed similarities, you know, and just like there is for everybody, and including African Americans that have European. It's like those look like Scotch eyebrows. As you know, most people are mixed, and Asians. I found Asians really difficult, but living in Hawaii has helped. And I've even figured out that Filipino, that Portuguese aren't even Asian. No, that's just a Hawaiian joke. Because they aren't. I mean, it's funny because they aren't. Anyway, but no, seriously, like Vietnamese, from Korean, from Japanese and Chinese when I was younger, it was just all Asian. And I'm like, no, I'm sure you could. And I heard from my Asian friends that, no, man, it's possible. And I'm like, you sure? You could tell those? It's like, yes, you could tell a Japanese person from a Chinese and a Korean and a Thailander and a Malaysian. And definitely from an Indian, please. Okay, and yes, yes, you can tell an Indian from an Indonesian. And no, you can't tell an Indian from the Seychelles Islands, okay? But yes, from Pakistan or Kashmir and whatnot. Okay, listen, I'm just done talking to you about this. No, I can tell all those now. I'm like, fucking, I can tell the difference between all of the looks alike. Except for plants. I suck at plants. Still, plants all still look alike to me. It's like, is that an oak? Or is it a cedar? No, actually, oak from cedar, I can tell. Oh, this is so painful. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. How much longer do you have? You have 5 more minutes. It looks like. Okay.
Nailed down. I can't leave my friggin' goddamn fucking tool.
The thing is, okay, Curas, I want to believe you that you've seen this kind of thing. I too. Okay, there was my landlord was murdered behind my house. I just had this thought, let's go for a drive. Hey, let's get out of here. We went out for like 45-minute drive up into the hills, and then came back down, there's cops there. Our landlord had been murdered back where I take my garbage behind the house, and he was a lawyer. The upper 3 stories of this old house were a law firm, and we had kind of a converted basement as an apartment. And it was a Julia Morgan house, if you know her, of course, San Simeon. Everybody's heard of her. Anyway, my car got broken into on that street as well. After the bridge collapsed in the earthquake, and there was a lot more traffic there, and I thought, well, more traffic, less likely to be robbed. No, everybody started getting robbed, and the murder was after that more traffic. Isn't that ironic? I don't know. I always thought that was ironic. If you know how that stuff goes, I want to tell you. No, I don't want to tell you. I want to ask you, what about any one or statistically all of those experiences is like this one? Which one of your experiences went down like this one, where the perpetrator did what Trayvon did, and you, the victim, did what George did?
Your webcam, I got stuck in my window, freaking pilfering through my damn mail because the fucking mailman will not freaking shove it all the way through on a locked mailbox. So here's some guy looking through my goddamn fucking mail, and black guy, sitting there freaking right in front of my goddamn house with freaking Mexicans parked everywhere because I'm living in...
Here's what's racist about this, Curas. You see, if George Martin had shot somebody going through his mail, you might have a point. I would still find that excessive. Slightly. Maybe using a gun to say, stop doing that or I'll shoot you. That might be okay, but see, that's the thing that leads to, and he doesn't stop, and it's like, I shot you. Oh, now it's complicated. But this situation isn't that. If somebody was breaking into your house or home invasion, right? So if George Zimmerman had been in his house, it's like, I'm about to go to my car, I'm opening my garage. Hey, I'm in my garage, and Trayvon Martin is coming into the garage in his hoodie, and he's in my garage on my property. Oh my God, I get my gun and yeah, don't go on somebody's property. Libertarian, Piro, right to bear arms. You should have been more careful. I might still think that was excessive, or maybe not. Probably I would say he should pull the gun and give the guy a warning shot. That's not bad. But if he didn't because he was panicked, I'd be at least infinitely more sympathetic than I am in this case, because none of that happened. How do you not notice? Nobody was right. But he could have been. But nobody was. But he could have been. But there's no evidence that he did. But he doesn't have a burglar tool. Well, he might have been smart enough not to have one. But there's no evidence. There's no evidence. If he was smart enough to get rid of all evidence and all time and all boom, and he was smart enough to end up dead, the most innocent looking thing ever, then, you know, whatever, I guess he'll get away with some of that, because you've got to have some sort of reason. He didn't go through anybody's mail. Well, he might have. But nobody saw. If this was do you understand, this could be a story of, I saw a guy, like, did you see the thing where the guy did the stand your ground? We should start talking about that. I saw the video, the guy did the stand your ground. He's on there's a cell phone, and he's calling 911 somehow, and he's like, I'm here, I'm standing my ground. And he was doing a noise complaint. An elementary school teacher who was a southerner and drunk as well, having a party for his wife. They're having music. The guy goes, it's too loud, I'm a neighbor. And the guy's like, what? And we hear it with, you pulled the gun on the wrong guy, because the guy with the cell phone that ended up killing the guy had pulled the gun. It's like, well, I'm nervous. You bitch, stand my ground. Stand my ground. And so the elementary school teacher goes back into the house, comes back out, says he's going to get a gun. Well, you pulled the gun on the wrong guy. I'm going to bring my gun. Let's see what that's about. It comes back out, and then all we hear is he's like, right, we're here, what do you think of this? And then the old guy with the phone's like, kapow, pow, pow, I stood my ground. So what do you think about that? Now that's some controversial shit. What the elementary school teacher should have called the cops himself. There's a guy threatening me with a gun here. And the old guy on the phone's like, come here real quick. The cop should have said, okay, look, you got to put your gun away. Maybe they didn't know, I don't know. So there's more than one example. But look, this is an example that the only thing so far we've seen is a kid had candy and a drink. Candy and a drink. You're talking on a cell phone. Hello. That's not, he wasn't rifling through anybody's mail. He might have in some time in his life, and so might have you in your life. Right? You might have. Doesn't matter if you did. Yeah, it fucking does matter if you did, and it matters if we really have reason to think you did. The only reason you have to think that Trayvon did it is to justify his death. There's no other evidence of him doing that. Ever. Oh no, he had jewelry and burglar equipment. Well, I'm sorry, you would have to follow up on that. No, he had jewelry, that doesn't mean it was stolen. And he had a screwdriver and stuff. A school saying burglary equipment is not a burglary conviction. And if it's evidence, it should be turned to the cops. And did somebody be missing that jewelry? And who knows? It's kid stuff. Thugs have multiple stuff of that. And they have fights. And brought a weapon to campus kind of things.
Hispanic beauty, playing soccer and stuff, and they're just all like, 5 feet from him is the goddamn friggin' guy with the friggin' truck with friggin' oranges and goddamn friggin' cotton candy that's 10 years old, and friggin' some kind of ice cream or burritos or some shit in the friggin' little thing on the bike that has the friggin' thing on the front. He's walking over, pulling out my mail, looking at my mail, walks over, sits on his goddamn car, and then friggin' hides it behind him when the goddamn cop rides by.
How is it not racist? And the thing is, if I say you're racist, it's not the end of the world. It's making a judgment on race, which is stupid. But you know what? People have done it for thousands of years. We're getting over it. It's the people that are racist that are getting over it. I myself, having been a lifelong person that I don't want to be racist, I have always overcome certain racist urges, and I have never worried about crossing the street when a dangerous guy comes, because once you overcome your racist urges, you start to realize, like, there's a white guy, I don't like to look at him. And maybe it's just because he's big, he looks really peaceful, but I don't want to take a chance. And it doesn't matter, the race part. It becomes about your own fear and safety and degree of how much you want to react fearfully or not. And I think in the city, fearful reactions aren't like scaredy cat always. They're like, well, this is just, we keep our distance. We just, people that care about safety keep our distance when there's just a few of us around. You know what I mean? There's nothing, I'm not maligning it. And you can remove the racial aspect. You really, really can. I don't know what the problem is. I could tell y'all how to do it if you wanted. Okay, I'm just going to play and pause this one.
The cop rides by, talks to him for a second. He's like, oh, you know, freaking, I'm watching this. I'm going on clip, on clip, on clip. And then he freaking goes by. Would you like to talk about the people that freaking shot at me, this goddamn freaking group of the freaking school across my street? You know?
Okay, so again, Trayvon didn't shoot at anybody. If we were talking about some kids that shot and Zimmerman killed somebody that had been shooting at you, I would totally be behind Zimmerman, I think, in that case. Really, I promise.
But the occasional person every once or twice a friggin' year gets blown away in this goddamn fucking neighborhood. Or the freaking whirlybirds every night. Don't tell me about bullshit and fucking expect me to believe it like it's a goddamn freaking fucking bouquet. It's fucking petunias.
It is a poke. I don't know what you're talking about. It's pokey. Right? Raw fish with onions and stuff. Right? Pokey? That's what you're... We love that here in Hawaii.
It's just, you know, I could see why freaking, what's his name? Freaking the guy from freaking, the guy that goes, what's next, what's next, what next, says that shit because it's freaking outrageous. You know? My freaking... The freaking neighbor, or the freaking, when the guy I went to high school, who freaking lived in Oak Park, freaking went over, freaking, he went out of freaking state because he got a freaking basketball scholarship, left all this bull crap behind, freaking bought out the freaking black neighborhood, freaking let the freaking properties freaking dilapidate, till everyone freaking moved out to a freaking another block, and then he sold them all at a high price before the market went out to freaking the goddamn freaking stupid freaking freaking law school. Now it's all freaking beautified and freaking the properties are crap, and he's freaking the mayor. While I'm sitting here freaking on the old homestead watching the place fall around my place. The place fall around my ears because freaking we couldn't freaking make anything out of anything because the freaking they rob you blind. You know? 3 pressure washers, freaking 2 stereos, freaking how many freaking tools, a lawnmower, and freaking 2 weed eaters, 10 bikes, and freaking goddamn freaking held up at gunpoint 3 times, and freaking 2 people tried to snatch my bike from me, and freaking an strong-armed robbery. Don't tell me about the freaking hood, homie. I lived there. Shit. Go back to Hawaii and surf or something, man. Damn, this shit pisses me off to hell. You know, you don't know me. You don't know. I got a problem? Yeah, I got a problem. I lived in the motherfucking hood. I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about,
fucking
bro.
Down with the fucking menace of the hood.
I totally know. Except for I don't know, like,
I went
the
to freaking
South
elementary
version.
school with them. And I can't even talk about this shit because
version.
it's too fucking dangerous. Shit, tell me you don't freaking know. Goddamn, I'm stopping. I know. Fucking, I wish I was like my uncle. Freaking.
Oh, you're so likable when you're
justice right there.
When you're racist somehow. How'd you do that? No, that's disgusting. Come on, dude. Do you not see? Okay, here's what's racist about what your position is that you get robbed and look, I have run. I would have been robbed and accosted more if I did not go I don't trust people. Anybody. Look, little old lady. Sorry, I'm going this way. I know how to cut a private route through the city. Like, you know, climb a fence, go through the cemetery. I mean, like, I know how to travel. Like, if I was in Trayvon's position, at his age, no fucking way. As soon as I saw Zimmerman, he never, ever, ever would saw me again. And you know why it was? Because I was an evil thug. No, I was an A fucking student. I just had a sense of privacy. Privacy? Okay, I did this. This did have alcohol in it, but whatever. Privacy. At the beginning of these videos, I hadn't drunk yet, but I had a drink. The point is, I was an A student. I was totally honest. I wouldn't vandalize. I don't steal. I don't pick up jewelry I find. I set it on the thing, hoping the owner finds it. I'm a goody two-twos as a kid that age. And there's no fucking way I'd let George Zimmerman fuck with me. I'd hated fascists at that age. Mini fascists, micro fascists, little motherfuckers that hit their girlfriend and every other motherfucking thing. In other words, you don't get to track me unless you can track me, and you can't. Okay. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Right? I think that's fine. So, Trayvon wasn't doing that. All of those situations you're talking about. One time my car got jacked. That didn't happen. Okay, look. Here's the possible situations that might have happened. Zimmerman kills Trayvon while Trayvon tries to carjack him in an intersection. See, I could support that. I would support that, really. If some guy was carjacking and the owner of the car went, no, I've got a gun, I'd go, let him off. Totally. Do you understand me? Yeah. Yeah, I'm a fucking American, so fuck you guys going, but you don't care about the victim. Yeah, I do. The Trayvon is the victim. You don't care about the victim. That's the tragic fucking D, is you don't fucking realize who the goddamn victim is. What's blinding you? Because he looks like the guy that carjacked me. Okay, so look, he was invading your home. If he was doing any of these fucking things you complained about, and to George Zimmerman, or a friend of George Zimmerman, or George Zimmerman walked by and looked in the window as a neighbor would watch me and said, look, Trayvon is accosting those people. I will be forthright. I will go in with the gun. It still might be true he should have tasered such a fellow and put him to the cops. That still would be true. I think it's best to use non-lethal force. I think it's best that cops are taught and tend to think that way in most cases. But that didn't happen. What do you not see about that didn't happen? The only similarity between that happening and what did happen is that when that has happened to you, it was, I guess, always a black person. Odd, because I found when I was living in Oakland for years and years, there actually, it's not a shortage of hoods of all ethnicities, really. But this case, that didn't happen. Do you understand? That wasn't going on. You see, George Zimmerman could have been carjacked and killed somebody, or his home invaded and killed somebody, or saw somebody a thing and maybe overeager, or he could have even saw Trayvon go into his dad's house, misunderstood that he was invading the house, and in that case he should find out. I'm never at watch. What are you doing in this house? It's my dad's house. the racist part is that none of that stuff happened. If the only reason you're thinking of that is because the people that did that to you were black, that's racist. Because in other words, your bias that you should develop should be like, when I hear, like, here's the thing. Guy captured a bunch of people in Berkeley in a fancy hotel when I was a student there, and eventually they attack him. Now let's say, I believe they subdued him, which I think is better, he could go to trial. But let's say they killed him. Yay! Blood! I'm totally for that. I'm still cautious of, like, don't become a monster when you fight monsters. Don't become a monster when you fight the monsters. Don't become a monster when you fight the monsters and gaze into the abyss. The abyss is also looking into you. But I'm, nevertheless, it's like, okay, accepted proves the rule. Yay, they fucking killed that guy. Which I don't think they did, but I'm just saying. That didn't happen this time. Do you understand? He was just walking, as far as we know. But maybe he was doing something else. But maybe doing something else. What the fuck are you talking about? We live in a world with Son of Sam and Charles Manson. Maybe doing something fucking else. This is about knowingly, for sure, having the facts of doing something else. James Jones did fucking something else. Get your head together, man. Clean it out. You're fucking awesome. Just spit that so you have one boil to fucking lance that motherfucker. Think about it, because that home invasion and all that shit, I'm fine. If you had shot one of those guys, I'd be like, and not knowing you, I mean, in this very situation where I'm just as distant, because that's what I expected in this case. I thought, some thug and some guy couldn't take it. Maybe he overreacted. Maybe some guy was just talking smack. This kid was running. This guy was told not to follow. It didn't have to happen. George Zimmerman insists that this fucking acts of motherfucking tragic fucking duck and ditch Z happened. Hello? Curas, you could see this motherfucker. Come on.